LJ Cason is out for the season, unfortunately, and we're going to get into the basketball ramifications as well as a little bit of football right here on this episode of Locked On Wolverines.
You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Monday. We are back and doing it. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. I'm your man on the ground, Isaiah Hole, publisher of Wolverines Wire through USA Today Sports Media Group. Thank you to all of our everydayers who watch or listen to the show every single day. Also, big thank you for making us your first listen. First, we're going to discuss the sad news. The sophomore reserve point guard, LJ Cason, is out for the rest of the year and maybe more, unfortunately, with an ACL tear. And then we're going to talk about Michigan's win over Illinois before we get into it's a really odd reverse course from another outlet as far as a football prediction is concerned. So we are going to get into that as well. Just realized I did not load that up. Oh, well. All right. LJ Cason. I was kind of afraid that it was going to be something on that level of negativity when he, I think everyone held their collective breath when he went out in the first half, and then he comes back in the second half. It's like, oh, it's all right. I mean, I saw someone saying I saw him, jumping up and down on a chair after the game. So with Michigan obviously won the Big Ten regular season. We'll get into that in segment 2 and everything. But to get yesterday, I planned on taking the entire day off. Saturday and Sunday, I was like, you know what? I'm pretty much caught up on everything. I'm just going to take as much time because it was just kind of a sprint to the end of the month. So I'm like, I'm just going to take the entire day off. I'm just going to read. I'm just going to hang out, watch TV, all that kind of stuff. So unfortunately, it was kind of thrust into action. It's not about me. I'm just saying it had to take something kind of substantial for me to decide to not continue with my day off, right? Because there's a lot of other breaking news. I'd be like, I can worry about that tomorrow. That wasn't the case, unfortunately. So tore his ACL, out for the season, and it's disappointing in multiple levels. Obviously, to have a guy that has really just come on really, really strong lately, really, really strong. I have the last 8 games. Obviously, his Illinois game was cut short. But 9 points in 13 minutes against Illinois, 14 points in 20 minutes against Minnesota, 7 points in 14 minutes against Duke, which is kind of weirdly an outlier. Purdue, 13 points. UCLA, 13 points. Northwestern, his career best game, 18 points in 25 minutes. Ohio State, only 8 points in 23 minutes, but Penn State started the double digits in 12 points in 26 minutes. He had gotten to a point where there were just games where I wanted to see more LJ Cason and less Elliot Cadeau. Cadeau's been mostly very good, but just he has those games every now and again, like the Duke game or whatever, where you're just he's just not on. He just doesn't have it today. And Cason just seems to always be on now. And I mean, it's been a month's worth of intel where you're yeah, okay, he's more than a month, where he's just he comes in and he's more than just a spark off the bench. He's kind of the team general. So to lose that guy, and to lose him the way they did, and considering they're you don't know exactly when he's going to come back, right? Dusty May talked about it today, potential red shirt here. So here's the quote there, is asked about could he redshirt next year? Because keep in mind, it's only been 8 months, going to be 8 months between now and when they start preparing for next season. So that's certainly been discussed as well. And then that impacts recruiting decision making and all of those things. But right now we're still trying to figure out when he's going to have it as far as the surgery. What's the timeline? Does it make sense to go ahead and sit out next year? That's certainly on the table, but right now we haven't made any definitive decisions because all the information is so inclusive, but that's certainly on the table. You don't want to hear that. You just don't want to hear a guy's going to miss this is aside from just the basketball of it all, but you just don't want to hear a guy missing that amount of time. We watched that happen with Rod Moore. That can be very debilitating. Someone who's had just a handful of injuries over the course of my life, I'm not even an athlete. I don't depend on my body in that way. But I know when I broke my foot or this last fall when I broke my hand, it does something with your mind when you're not complete and you're not whole. On top of it, I can imagine when it's your livelihood's being taken away from you, right? That can play some mental games with you. And on top of the fact that it takes some time to recover, even when you're healed. Like, I still can't make my left hand into a full fist very easily after having broken my middle knuckle. So I can't even imagine an ACL tear and getting to the point where you're able to run and cut and stuff like that. It's a little bit different in basketball because that's all you're doing is cutting. Football, depending on your position, you might not have to cut quite as much. So it's a different deal with an ACL tear there. But also now the onus is going to be put on several guys to step up in the wake, right? Like LJ Cason was in foul trouble pretty early on against Illinois, and that's why we saw early LJ Cason. And, he really put his body on the line. And when he maybe did or didn't tear his ACL, right? Like that first play where he got injured. So, just to have that hustle mentality and those types of things, other guys are going to have to step up. Dusty May mentioned, obviously Cadeau needing to basically not be getting into any earlier or later foul trouble, right? Because they just don't have a lot of options. But now like Trey, McKenney, Namari Burnett, and Roddy Gayle need to step up. Now, Roddy, we talked about this on the Everydayer Club Discord. We know he can do it. He just hasn't done it this year. We've seen him in the tournament last year come alive and become one of Michigan's best players. In a couple of those games, the best player that they had. And he's been borderline unplayable. He's been the worst of the reserves in some of these games. Now, a couple games ago, obviously, he had 7 points and was I think that was the Minnesota game where he was kind of the only thing that was working for a period. But you just don't really count on him anymore. And now they're going to need to. Now, Dusty was talking about the bench and said maybe we felt like we were a little bit too deep anyway. That kind of feels like some revisionist. It's kind of it's just our food tastes too good. We've got too much money, the weather's just too nice, that type of thing. I don't know. I don't think it necessarily fully harms Michigan they still got the core, right? Like LJ wasn't a starter. They've still got the core of what they need to win a championship. It just got a bit harder and you just don't have as much leeway anymore. So it's going to be interesting to see, but it's really disheartening to watch a guy go down like that, especially when it's he became the guy that I wanted to see most. I know people continue to rave about Trey McKenney, and he obviously had, has had a couple really big games lately too. Cason was the guy that I was as soon as he came off the bench, it was I'm sitting up straighter, right? I'm paying closer attention. So to lose him, they got a couple games to work things out. Ultimately, how much do they care about the Big Ten tournament? I don't know, right? Dusty kind of made it sound we're not really kind of going all out for that, if I read that right. But, so they've got however long before Selection Sunday to kind of figure out what they're going to do now, because now the sudden change is upon them. How are they going to react? I don't know. All right, let's talk a little bit about the Illinois game, because I think that's worth discussing, because that was a huge win for the Wolverines, and so we will get to that here in just a moment. But before we do, college basketball is nonstop. Big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night, from early tip-offs to late night West Coast shootouts. There's always action on the board. And now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential with a college basketball. I always have college football in the mind. College basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay you want, rivalry games, ranked matchups, whatever fits. Essentially what I'm reading in the moment. You can mix spreads, totals, and player props to match however you see the slate playing out, and then you can apply the profit boost and instantly bump up the potential payout. So look at the odds around what's happening with Michigan every single game, right? They're favored to win, but you know what players are going to step up. You might want to look and see maybe an over-under on Trey McKenney might be the way to go. So you can go safe, you can go bold, you can ride with Michigan like you've been doing all season long. It's your parlay, your style, and now there's more upside behind it. So head to FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel, play your game. All right, we're going to continue on here in just a moment. But before we do, Workplace chaos, deadline stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you still have to fill sitting open when the pressure's on and you need to get to the right hire. Guess what? This is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for, skills, experience, location, so you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And guess what? Here's a stat that says it all. In the minute that I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And right now, listeners of this show can get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this very show. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? Well, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. All right. Before I even get to that, thank you for making Locked On Wolverines your first listen. We do appreciate that. You got to go deeper. You got to dig in harder. And the way to do that is through the Everydayer Club. Listen, you can go ad free with that. But more importantly, the private member only Discord where you can reach out to me directly, right? It's not like my Twitter DMs where people ask me things all the time. And, sometimes I respond, sometimes I don't. Sometimes it's proprietary stuff. I'm going to respond if you ask me something in this. And if I get some intel, I'm going to bring it to you in there as well. Right? Like sometimes it's like, we had a moment with Dave Peliquin in the hire. I had a source that I told you a little bit about it here. I gave it more direct in the Discord of what I was hearing. First, oh man, I'm not sure about this. And then, you know what? All of the fears have been allayed here. And you can get that for $5 a month or $50 a year. It's a steal, really. Go to lockedonwolverines.supercast.com or check the show notes to learn more. All right. Michigan wins 84-70 against Illinois in a game that wasn't even that close. Michigan pushed it to what? Like 21, I think? 21 was, maybe it was just 20. I think it was 21. I don't think it went much higher than that. And then at that point, it was like 3 minutes left. The game was over. Illinois kind of mounted a small comeback, and it was what it was. But really incredible job, especially weathering the early storm, weathering the orange crush, got things going early through, I think that you weren't going to control the orange crush. That's the Illinois student section, whatever. They were, you could tell they were raucous all game. I wasn't there, of course. I watched it on TV with Zuri, but you could watch and see what they were, that they could have affected the game. But getting Morez Johnson Jr. going early was the best possible thing, right? Because they would have stayed even more raucous, I think, if he wasn't the one that was kind of punishing them in the early goings. He ends up tying for the most points in the game. Along with Aday Mara and Yexel Lendeborg being just behind at 16 points. So the others had 19. Aday Mara was just a complete mismatch that they just could not do anything with. But it's the first win in 10 tries against Illinois. Michigan has now a 29-60 record in Champaign. I was unaware of that until Steve texted that to me. And I was like, wow. You just kind of don't expect that. That's a hard place to play. I had kind of come to expect that generally against Brad Underwood, they weren't going to be very good because even better Juwan Howard teams played worse Illinois teams and lost. Worse Juwan Howard teams played equal Illinois teams and lost too. So this is a team that you can see that there is very much a hate that goes one way, right? It's a rivalry to them. You had Jake Davis out there saying about Morez Johnson, which I still think is hilarious. He basically he could have had this, it's not exactly what he said, but it was something like that, right? And it's I think he's fine. And to me, this was an important win in just so many ways, just by virtue, if for no other reason, that this was to be able to win the Big Ten outright, right? They had to share a couple of weeks or a couple games, the game before rather against Minnesota, but to get the full outright win at a place that is a house of horrors for you, kind of speaks to your team, and that's like slaying the demon, slaying the dragon, whatever. I mean, I probably should go with dragon because I've been reading the Game of Thrones of it all. But like, I mean, I just phenomenal to be able to go out there and flex that way on a team that was, I don't know what they are right now. I guess I can look it up because I have it right here. I mean, now they're only down to fifth on KenPom, but they were fourth going into that game on KenPom. Michigan second, and Illinois was fourth. So to be able to get to that point where like you're holding the number one offense in the country to, I mean, yeah, they ended up putting up 70 some points, or just exactly 70, but it took them all game to get there. Illinois got, they had 31 in the first half, 39 in the second, but like the Michigan offense, which is no slouch, right? Fifth in the country, but like, was better. Going up against the number 30 defense, I guess that's expected. 31 at the time of the gameplay. But just that barrage that they went on, right? The 12-2 run that just really kind of set everything on fire, right? Because like Illinois got that early lead and it kind of just felt like, oh, here we go again. But Michigan just weathered it. Morez Johnson kept on getting putbacks, making shots. In the second half, Aday Mara they could not stop him. Yaxel made the plays when he needed to make plays. Cason, obviously a big player off the bench. Trey McKenney with a couple big shots as well off the bench too. He only had 6 points, but they were both threes. So, I mean, that plays a massive difference. So huge for just like morale, especially now, like, yeah, the LJ Cason thing's going to hurt, for a while. But to be able to know, like, you played half the game without him, more than that, really, because, I mean, 13 minutes of play. You knew for much of the second half he wasn't available. So to be able to do what they were able to do as far as that's concerned, defensively, being able to hold back Illinois and a lot of their shooting, they really made Boswell kind of ineffective in the second half for the most part, which was impressive. But especially coming off of the Duke game a week before, that's the type of game you needed. Now it's going to be harder when you get down to the NCAA tournament without having the depth that you had. But now you got some time to figure it out. So that's the good news. All right, we're going to move on. Let's talk a little football. There's something that I just thought was really bizarre. And we will get to that here in just a moment. But before we do, what if sports were traded like markets? Well, now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action. So when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're not just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood. Now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps and swaps trading involves significant risk and it's not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. All right, I didn't. That's something I wanted to cover, and then I didn't put it. I didn't put it where I can see it. Smart by me, real smart. We could a quick copy paste should make everything go well. We prepared for 5/6 of the show, then not the other. Okay, my friend Brad Crawford. I'm not trying to pick on him here. I just want to know why he reversed course, because a month ago we did a show. We talked about how, he did a early playoff prediction for CBS Sports. He had Michigan in as the 12th seed. He thought they'd go 9-3 in the regular season, but be that first team that's 9-3 to get in without having a title game loss to make them 9-3 or 10-3, I guess, or whatever. And it was fun times. It was good times. We were celebrating over here. We hung a banner here in the podcast studio. J-Book, you're going to have to, I would invite you over to come and look at it, but that's, personal protection orders and such, which we should talk about that again. I just honestly was preparing for the show. I did not think to talk about the LaTroy Lewis and Sherrone Moore stuff. We'll get to that probably on Tuesday, I'm guessing as part of the mailbag. But we're not avoiding it, just completely wasn't thinking about it as preparing for the show. But yeah, it's just funny to me that nothing's changed from February 4th or February 3rd when he wrote his article to here, March 2nd, as far as Michigan or the field or whatever. But now USC has got the 11 seed and Memphis the 12 seed, and Michigan is EA projects going to the Citrus Bowl, which, I mean, listen, to some degree, like, fine. It's a hard schedule. I think that you should know that going in. I don't think that you should go into this year thinking like playoff or bust, because just being realistic, 9-3 feels kind at the moment. Like, let's see it play out. Let's see some spring ball and looking sharp and all that stuff before we start actually. Like, good news, a lot of home games, right? You get Iowa, Penn State, Oklahoma, and Indiana at home, but you got Ohio State and Oregon on the road. But I mean, that feels kind to say 9-3. He doesn't say what the record would be here, but he has Michigan projected to the Citrus Bowl for a second straight year, playing Alabama for the third time in a 4-year stretch. So here's what he had to say about that. Taking the field with a new offense in 2026, Alabama has more questions than answers at this time. Kalen DeBoer faces pressure to win big in his third campaign, and the Crimson Tide should be one of the couple SEC teams vying for the Leaves' fourth, and we project final spot in the playoff. The Wolverines played in Orlando during last year's postseason, but should be the Citrus Bowl's prime selection once again as the Big Ten's highest-ranked team not in the CFB. So we're not going off of a lot there, except for just maybe vibes. You're right? Like, there's no reason as to why Michigan fell down in the two early bowl projections. Right? Like, except for just maybe like maybe we're just, here's one path, here's another path. I don't know. And maybe that's fair. Like I said, I think the schedule is an absolute bear. It's a new staff that should get a lot more out of this team. But again, like it's just a more difficult path there. Right? Like, last year was difficult with the home away. But like, there was really like 4 games on the schedule that were kind of like, well, then this year there's 6. So that's not great. But now, like, with that, I mean, I'll take a big time matchup against Alabama. I'll go to Orlando as often as you can put me there personally. That's just my own personal deal. Get to hang out with my guy, Luke DeMello, get to go to Disney, all that kind of stuff. Maybe get some Universal in one of these times. Probably could have gone this year. Thought about going on my own, but they were like, oh, you can't go to Universal when the team goes. Okay. Did it in 2019. No, guess what? Everything was fine. But I think that that's kind of just a weird reversal. Now, is it possible? It absolutely is possible because of what I've said. But I just think, like, without adding anything, like, USC's got a difficult schedule too, right? Like, they've got Ohio State and Indiana and Oregon and Washington and Penn State. You know, they don't have Oklahoma like Michigan does, but I mean, they've got a difficult schedule as well. But ultimately, like, here's the good news. You don't play games all at once, right? It's kind of like, I'm going to go for a run after I get done with the show today. And I haven't run in a week and a half for no good reason. I just been reading in my downtime instead of exercising. Probably should be doing both, but like, when I run, because I do not like running. Even when I'm good at running, I don't like it. But if I try to run the whole race at once, I mean, it's not a race, but like, if I'm trying to run like my whole 3 miles at once, it's just not going to work. I just got to put one foot in front of the other, and that's going to be the best way that I'm going to get close, or, you know, do the whole thing or whatever. That's how Michigan's schedule is, right? Like, you get past Oklahoma, then you got to tune up again against UTEP, and then you got Iowa. You get past Iowa, you should be able to get past Minnesota, and then you get Penn State. Once you get past Penn State, then you got Indiana, right? Like, you just one step at a time, right? Like, it's like the 2018, the gauntlet. Everyone was saying at that time too, myself included, don't see any way that they emerged from that anywhere close to unscathed. You know, I was kind of like, I think they can win 2 or 3. And most people were like, they're going to go 1 and 2, if not 0 for 3. And then they won all 3. So you just kind of never know. But I just think it's weird without any reason. Like, Michigan didn't lose anybody. Like, no, you know, they didn't gain anybody, but no one did, right? Like, transfer portal's long been closed. USC didn't do anything different either to suddenly jump ahead of Michigan. We're just going off of vibes. Again, it's no offense to my guy, Brad, who I actually adore. But we're we're going to talk football every day. One, hell or high water, one way or another. So we'll talk about what little football things we can talk about. Anyway, that's going to do it for us today. Tomorrow, almost certainly the mailbag. And we will get to that then. So thanks for watching. Thank you for listening. We will talk to you again soon. Peace.